departure from the port, the forward maneuvering team complained about the performance of the mooring winch. Immediately I went to the forward to check what was happening on the machinery. I asked the bosun what the problem is. Then he said there is a problem with the heaving, the winch running slow. Since the bosun is busy preparing the mooring and the pilot is already on board, so I have no chance to rectify the problem. I check the control. I notice there is an initial reading on the ammeter while the motor is in standby mode, which is not normal, it must be 0. I initiate troubleshooting on the problem after the pilot disembarks. With the help of a second engineer, we simulate running the motor from the first stage up to the third stage for the heaving and lowering operation.
Bumabalik siya sa second stage.
Baka dumudulas yung
Kaya tingnan natin. Yung perayan na kagad siya, di ba?
Oh.
Dapat walang perayan, 0 yan. Number 1 muna. Number 1. Yan. Tapos number 2. Number 3. Ngay. Balik mo sa 0. So, dito sa kabila naman. Number 1. Number 2. Sige, number 3. Oh, bumabalik, no? Bumabalik.
I observed that there's a problem in the heaving operation. If we put the lever on the third stage, the speed shifts back to the second stage. Subsequently, the motor is reduced in speed instead of increasing. There is also an unusual sound heard inside the gearbox. Based on my experience, this problem occurs only when there is an overload on the third stage. If the current consumption measured in the third stage is overloaded, the control will change into the second stage to protect the motor from damage. I have to check the diagram first before continuing to rectify the problem. Remember, whatever your knowledge or experience with troubleshooting, always follow the user's manual or electrical diagram. After I check the diagram, I begin to check the contactor's operation. We started the motor while I measured the current in the contactors of every stage of operation.
Okay, testing na tayo. Number 1. Number 2. 3.
I notice the current of the third stage of both operation lowering and heaving is quite high in just a second only. But I observed that there's no shifting of speed happening on the lowering operation. The shifting of speed occurred only on the heaving operation. I check the diagram again. In the diagram, there is a strain gauge sensor and measuring amplifier, which are these two components that are responsible for load measurements. So I have prospects that one of these two components might have a problem. Since there's noise inside the gearbox, we decided to open first the gearbox to check the noise and the sensor as well. We found the sensor is damaged already, so there is no doubt that the problem is the sensor itself. We replaced the defective sensor with a new one, but the problem is the color of the cable of the sensor is different. I need to identify first the cable of the new sensor, so that I can connect it to the amplifier correctly. Back to the diagram, I notice the 4 wires coming out from the sensor are a Wheatstone bridge configuration. The color code of the new sensor is red, black, white, and green. In the 4 wires, the 2 wires should be the excitation or power, and the other 2 wires are for the signal or output. Basically, the color red and black wire is the power, so assuming that these 2 wires are connected to the power and the white and green are connected to the signal. Then I have to check where the power and the signal are in the amplifier terminal. Using my multi-tester, I start measuring in terminals 2 and 3. I got 10.7 volts DC, in terminals 1 and 4. I got 3 millivolts DC. Therefore, the terminals 2 and 3 should be the excitation, and terminals 1 and 4 are the signal. I connect the wire to the amplifier. The ammeter indicator on the control is showing 0. We tested the mooring winch and found the mooring is working satisfactorily. The winch is back to normal again. consequences of this problem can be a reason for third-party observation during inspection.
Zero mo.
Delay of lowering and heaving operation during in-port departure and arrival. Also, it can give problems for anchor recovery. It could result in a delay in operation. The preventive action is properly handling, and regular inspection of the components of the machinery must be done regularly.